Hi! It's been a while since you saw a video from me about aviation, that is. And today's video I would like to talk about the first big conclusions and trends that we can see. Like, subscribe and share. What we've seen, of course, is that there has been a lot of grounding. Well, that we all know. We also have seen some bankruptcies. We have seen a lot of financial aid from governments. In some cases, governments literally becoming co-owners of airlines again, which is total opposite of what we've seen before, because before it was like, no, everything needs to be privatized and private is better. But hey, we see that even a country like Germany decided to become a big shareholder of Lufthansa. And also that a large company like Lufthansa really needed billions and billions to be able to survive a crisis. I mean, nobody knows how long it will last. So whatever number they took is just for the past few months and the foreseeable future. So that's really interesting. Which basically is saying that no company was actually healthy. No airline was healthy. They were all built on the assumption that as long as money keeps coming in, we'll be okay. We'll pay out bonuses to our shareholders, or dividend, and then bonuses to the management teams. And in fact, many of these so-called healthy companies were already crying for help after a month or two. And that should tell you something. That it's all a big inflated balloon that started to deflate, and now governments are reinflating it. Another thing we've seen is that most 4 or even 3-engined aircraft are getting out of favor rapidly, even the newest ones, the most modern ones. So the A380 being not just grounded for a very long time, put in long-time storage, but also being prematurely retired, as well as many 747s. We will most probably see a lot of these 747s move to the cargo category, being refitted as cargo aircraft, which is not cheap to do, but it's doable. And they even expect the 747-8 International to be refurbished, because that would make a very efficient one. I mean, if they really refurbish it like the 747-8 freighter, I'm not sure that's actually possible, because what I've seen, that refurbishing doesn't give you the same capabilities when it comes to weight and range. Mainly weight. I mean the weight of the cargo that I can transport, because there are structural differences. There is a reason why the development of the 747-8 freighter was done more or less in parallel with the passenger version, and that there was a lot of additional testing being done because it's quite a different aircraft. There have been talks about the A380 being refurbished to be a freighter, and apparently there's one that they are refurbishing, but it's not clear if it's going to be like really a freighter or like these temporary freighters what they did for a lot of passenger aircraft, that's of which some are being reconfigured back to be passenger aircraft. And what I mean here is the difference in the refurbishing. So what they did with these passenger aircraft is just took out all the chairs, in some cases also the lavatories, and then they used all the rail on the floors in which they locked down the chairs. They used them to lock down pallets. But that would mean that all the boxes had to be carried in one by one, or maybe on I don't know, these little things you can push around. But let's say you cannot slide in pallets. It means that all the buildup of pallets has to be done in the aircraft, which slows down the process a lot. When we look at how things are done in airports, and I've worked for a few weeks at the Amsterdam airport within a cargo station, the pallets come in, the wooden ones that come from trucks. They're placed here. Just next to it you have the aluminium pallet that will go in the aircraft, and it's just you build up, you put the net, make sure everything is well fixed, and then oppa into the aircraft. With these temporary converted passenger aircraft, you need to go from the wooden pallet up the stairs, or maybe they'll have these platforms that can move. Okay, then you have to walk in the aircraft towards where the pallet is going to be fixed, because you cannot move the pallets around once they're loaded. So you need to walk, especially the first ones, all the way to the back and then start packing up. So all this walking around is losing a lot of time. It's like doubling or even quadrupling. Anyway, the time that takes. So that's an increasing cost, but when there's high demand, it can be worth it because you suddenly have more cargo capacity. But then also the capacity that can be installed in a passenger aircraft is less, because the floor is not made for very high load. So yeah, it's like 50% less or so. So what will they do with the A380s? To make them profitable, you need to strengthen the floors, basically taking out most of the floors and then rebuilding them like a real cargo floor with all these structures inside, all these wheels and the engines that move things and can turn them. And even if we would keep it simple, like at the door you enter and then you have one thing that can turn and then all the rest is straight, still you need to install all those. Then the question is, can the A380 be fully loaded like a 747 freighter? If so, there's a high chance they will need to upgrade 2 of the main landing gear, like it was the plan for the A380-900, which would have 4 bogies with 6 wheels each, if my information is correct, which means a change to the fuselage. Probably not major, but still. Or simply the aircraft will not be able to carry the maximum load. Also, they will need to install 2 main cargo doors on the main deck and on the upper deck. The lower deck they already have the cargo doors for containers that they were transporting anyway. So that's a lot of transformation. So the question is, how much cargo can an A380 really take, a converted one? If that amount is really high, then it will be worth it. If not, it's not gonna last for long. There will be that one, but it will not be a standard conversion and will not be a popular thing. So what we also see is that the market for the smaller aircraft, the very modern ones, so the A220 and also the A321neo, is booming. These aircraft have longer range than the competitors, but they are not as heavy, not as expensive to maintain. And in a market where the numbers of travelers have decreased dramatically, smaller aircraft doing longer range is ideal. And this is why I believe this is the moment where Airbus is really profiting compared to Boeing, because Boeing has nothing to offer there and Airbus has. I'm not saying these are holy days for Airbus. No. Many companies are deferring their deliveries. That brings me to the next point. A company like Qatar has threatened the manufacturers would not allow them to divert their deliveries by at least 2 years for free. They threatened them to just walk away from them. And this is, of course, a response to Airbus threatening airlines to sue them if they would not take deliveries. And why would they do that? Because on delivery is when you get paid. There's a fraction of the price you pay up front, but 95% or so is on delivery. And of course the question can arise like, okay, what if Boeing would say the same thing, like, hey, you take it or you have to pay a penalty? To whom can an airline like Qatar go, you may ask? Well, first of all, I don't see Boeing doing this because Boeing is in a very, very, very weak position now. I mean, what is it that they're delivering when it comes to the civil aviation? A few 787s, maybe a 777 or two, 777X not ready, 737 MAX, I mean, grounded, and they even have been ordered to revise, to examine, but probably also to revise the electric cabling. Just check Boeing electric cabling and you will see that there were issues there. They hoped to get away with it, but the FAA is not taking any chances anymore. I mean, the smallest mistake that will be made now that will result in at least a partial catastrophic event will bring hell down on the FAA. I mean, like 10 times worse than what they had now. So yeah, the 737 MAX will not be certified for another, let's say not before December, I guess. If it's done this year, it will be an achievement. I mean, a lot needs to change for it to be certified this year. Like the whole corona crisis need to be really ending and not having a second wave or so, which has been predicted. And conspiracy or not, I believe there will be a second wave, naturally or induced. And that's why so many airlines are talking about not even taking delivery next year, or have already changed their schedule, adapted schedules already for next year, and are expecting multiple years before they resume the same capacities, the same number of passengers. because this is not just something that will blow over. I mean, we can have a total standstill of 6 months in the economy, and then when things pick up, half a year later, things will be okay again. Because once things start rolling, everything starts rolling. But this is not happening. This is not predicted. And somehow people are believing this, so it looks like shit hasn't stopped hitting the fan yet. But so what will happen here? So yeah, let's say Qatar was threatened. And let's say Boeing will have the same standpoint as Airbus because Boeing really needs some deliveries in order to have some cash flowing in. Then Qatar will first cancel all the orders everywhere, and then it will be a power game. It will be either like Boeing will be so desperate to get some business that they will hand over aircraft almost for free, or they will not bend over and just spread their legs as far, and then Airbus will also bend over a little bit, spread their legs a little bit, and they will both start offering a lot of discounts, and that's what Qatar is counting on. That they will just get huge discounts and they keep just playing one against the other. They will renegotiate all the deals they already had, which means no penalties, which means diverting the deliveries and getting more discounts. So basically getting the aircraft at cost price or even below cost price. And that is where the danger lies. Because if this starts happening, then other companies will do the same. And that's how you will see that in the end, only a few will survive. But they won't survive as being really strong. They will barely survive. And then a lot will die. This also means that like both Boeing and Airbus will suffer a lot then, which will also mean that there will be a hold on innovation, which is going to be bad for the environment, which is going to be bad for us, the consumers. And it's just going to be about money and nothing else. Where we saw a trend which started in the Middle East with quality. Same price, more quality. So you will end up with a situation like it used to be back in the days, where there was only a few airlines and prices were extremely high. Or we will only have low cost, but then if everyone is low cost, it will not be so low cost anymore, and you have zero service. You will have all kind of physical problems when you're taller than 5 foot, for example, and you will have to travel on a long flight. You will get out completely destroyed, or you may have these blood clots that will form and then people will die. And we'll need to have at least 10 deaths from this before it can really proven that it was because people were cranked up too much in the airplanes. And then regulations will come, hopefully, to change and to force minimum space for people to sit. And then they could have like part of the aircraft for tall people and part of the aircraft for short people, so they can still stuff as many people as they can inside. Where now, if you're tall, you basically have to pay extra because you were born tall to have space enough to sit normally, where short people can sit comfortably. So all this is not leading to a better place, neither for the environment nor for the consumer. And also business-wise, it's just unhealthy for everyone. A small positive is that the first to be retired are the inefficient aircraft or the less efficient aircraft. But if this all lasts too long, then even the efficiency of the aircraft that will stay in service will not improve as much as it could have. So in the end, we're all losing. And that's sad. But on the other hand, we collectively participated in this because of our greed. We wanted more for less, and in our current society that's not possible. So we, the consumers, do not dictate. It's the shareholders who dictate. So we basically screwed up everything ourselves, and yeah, now we're collectively paying the price. You may not like me saying this, but let's be honest. How many of us are living on credit? Even before it was really needed. Because we wanted that beautiful thing that we couldn't afford. So we took out a loan. And then another one, and another one, and another one. And yes, a lot of us, most of us maybe, were tricked into believing that we were doing the right thing. It was a smart thing to do. But by now, everyone should know that in the end, it's the financial institutions who are always winning. It's like with football. You play 90 minutes, the ball is going around, and in the end, it's the Germans who win. It's a saying. This is, at least in Europe, it's a saying. Maybe they used to say Brazil in South America, but after the 7-1 against Germany, I don't think the Brazilians have the balls to be that arrogant for a while. So we really need to look at what's going on and to change something in our own behavior, I believe. We ourselves are responsible for what's happening in the world. We are not just victims of what other people are doing. We ourselves are participating and contributing and even inducing certain changes. So let's collectively induce positive change. And I do not have the answer to everything. What I can tell you is when you start to get your shit together, when you start to live in a more ethical way, the world will improve. And that would also be reflected in the aviation industry, like in any other industry. If we all stop taking new loans, the financial institutions will start to lose their power, which means the economy will start to change, which means that quality can start to play an important role instead of just price. And isn't that what we want in the end? To have an okay price, but we want quality. We don't only want cheap. I mean cheap and then end up dead. It's not really worth it, right? I mean, that's what happened with the Max. Cheap, 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 money, 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 300 plus deaths. Yeah. We are collectively responsible for that number of deaths and many more, because we all contribute to this society which is built on greed, Because we ourselves also have been very greedy. Some of us still are. I decided some years ago to really start revising my way of living. And this meant cutting down on many things. But in the end, I have a less stressful life. I do not have all the things I used to have, but I do have what I need to have. I'm healthier, I'm happier. Isn't that where it starts? Is that what we actually want, to be healthy and happy? Isn't that what we want before we want to have that Maserati or that big screen TV or that bigger house? Or remember that. Whatever you see around you is a reflection for what you have inside you. Let that sink in. And I will link in the description to my other YouTube channel and my website where I do teach these things. I will not be recording many videos if there's not so much to announce or there's not some very interesting subjects to discuss. I thought about recording a video about freighter conversions and stuff, and I did some research and I actually used this in this video. Maybe I'll take some time to sit down, but there's going to be a lot of editing involved to have all those sheets, all those data sheets and pictures and graphics to show you what my conclusions are based on, because I did some research some time ago, but I didn't have the energy to sit down for 5 to 8 hours to edit a video of 15-20 minutes, because there is a lot of data. But I'll see. Maybe I'll do it in stages. I mean, I already have some stuff ready, so maybe I'll do that. But then I need you to also tell me if you're interested in that, because then I can show you if it's worth it or not to build or to convert the A380 to a freighter. Not to build an A380 freighter, but a converted one, which is a difference. And I can show to you why and how. I can prove it to you with existing data. So it's up to you. See you in the next video. Have a beautiful day. If you disliked the video, you do this. If you liked it, thumbs up, share and subscribe. Also, check out my Patreon page. There you can support me and get access to exclusive content. Get more. Check it out in the link below.